James. I hope you're good and well. I'm doing a book review today for Filth by Irvine Welsh. Filth is a story about a policeman called Detective Sergeant Bruce Robertson. Bruce Robertson is as dodgy as they come. He could be described as a master manipulator. He's smart, he's conniving, he plays people at every given opportunity. He's got an air of evil genius about him. To be quite frank, he could also be described as a cunt. And that's actually putting it quite mildly. He works for the police force in Scotland, in Edinburgh. His wife has left him and he's been assigned to a murder case. I enjoyed certain parts of this book. It got off to a good start. Right from page one, I knew it was going to be a fun read. I could see that the character was going to be wild and quite ruthless and quite entertaining. There are two hilarious scenes that spring out in my mind. There's a scene where a young man is caught with a 15-year-old girl and Bruce Robertson kind of blackmails him and he kind of threatens him with a prison sentence where he'll be bullied inside. You kind of have to read the scene to fully understand it, but it's very well written and very entertaining. There's another scene later on in the book where there's a farmer, that the policeman, the main protagonist, knows a farmer, and they're on a farm with a certain prostitute and a dog, and they plan to make some kind of porn film. I'll let you use your imagination. It's not disturbing, it's actually very funny the way it pans out. The book has plenty of funny scenes like that in it, which I enjoyed. It was also very nice. This book was written and published in the late 90s, by the way. And it was nice reading about some old school references. For example, people drive cars with cassette tapes in this book. There are references to people sitting at home watching VHS videos. And also teletext is mentioned in this book. I don't know whether teletext was a thing in America, but if you're English and of a certain age, you'll remember teletext. In a way, it was a kind of early version of the internet on TV. You could kind of switch it on and you could look at sports results and stuff like that. It's long gone now. I think that disappeared in the early 2000s, but it's mentioned in this book. And there's also a reference to Wurzel Gummidge. Again, if you're English and of a certain age, you'll remember Wurzel Gummidge. The prose is very entertaining, which is typical of Irvine Welsh. You can say what you want about Irvine Welsh, but his prose is very entertaining. There's nothing pretentious about his writing. His books are fun. He doesn't try to be sensible in any way, so that the prose in this book is no different. It's good. And also that the main protagonist, this policeman, he's actually got a tapeworm, and throughout the book you kind of turn the page and all of a sudden you get this picture of a worm going down the middle of the page, cutting right across the text, and the tapeworm actually speaks to you. It's got its own voice, its own personality, which is a nice touch. I personally like things like that. Some people don't like any pictures in books. If they read a novel, they just want words and nothing else. I understand that, but personally, I like the odd picture or two, and funny stuff like this tapeworm is good for me as well. I quite liked it. Thank you for making it to the halfway point of this video. This is a quick message to let you know that I have a range of horror and sci-fi horror books available, and most of them are free. If you enjoy my videos, you might also enjoy my stories. And if you want to receive exclusive content relating to the world of books and horror, consider joining my mailing list. You'll even get 2 free audiobooks for doing so. Finally, if you want to support my work, you can make a donation to my PayPal tip jar. All the links are below. Thank you. Now back to the video. I enjoyed parts of this book, but to be honest, I wouldn't recommend it. There is an air of pointlessness to pretty much all of Irvine Welsh's books, or at least all of the ones that I have read. Filth is incredibly long-winded. It's a long book, and in my opinion, certain chapters in this book could be completely deleted and it wouldn't actually make any difference to the storyline. Some of it feels like he's just writing it for the sake of it. And although the main protagonist is very well developed, there's some good character development with Bruce Robertson, I kind of felt that other characters in the story just merged together and blended together, which is not good, obviously. So he put a lot of effort into the main character, but not quite as much into the side characters, which irritated me a little bit. And a slight spoiler alert here, not a complete one, but at the end of the book, there's a murder scene. Now, a murder scene in any kind of novel is quite a major thing. It's like quite a major part of the story. But even though I just read the whole entire book, there were some characters involved in this end murder scene that I didn't even know anything about. So it's just this character thing again. It didn't quite work for me there. I get this kind of vibe. I've read a few of Welsh's books now, and it's this undercurrent of pointlessness that kind of pervades all of his stories, and it's something I've noticed for a long time now. If I'm totally honest with you, I think this might be the last Irvine Welsh book I'll read. I've read a few of his books now, and it's been a kind of mixed experience for me. His most famous book is Trainspotting, of course, and I actually DNF'd that 50% of the way through. After that, for some strange reason, I read Skag Boys, which is a prequel to Trainspotting. I finished it, but it was quite a slog. It's a big book, and again, it's got this air of pointlessness to it. Funnily enough, at the back of that book, there's a review from one of Irvine Welsh's friends, and the review is something like captivating, amazing, brilliant, and absolutely pointless. I loved it. So I think Irvine Welsh knows that his books are pointless, but I think he's got a readership now, so he thinks he can just get away with it. So I wasn't impressed by Skag Boys. I read A Decent Ride, which I did like. That's about a cab driver up in Glasgow. That was very entertaining. I quite like that book. I recently DNF'd a short story collection of his called Ecstasy. One story in there was very good, but the other two just weren't worth the time and effort, in my opinion. Now, in regard to his films, I actually like them. I've seen two of them. Trainspotting is one of my favourite films of all time. I think that's maybe not a masterpiece, but it's certainly a very good film. Excellent film. And The Acid House is very good as well. The Acid House is 3 short stories. It's turned into a film, and in particular, story number 2 on The Acid House, what's it called? A Soft Touch or A Weak Touch. That's a very good story, so that's good. I haven't read the book of The Acid House, I probably won't now, but the film is good. My main criticism is it feels as though Irvine Welsh writes for himself, not for the reader. As a writer, this is a huge decision. You know, do you write what you like, or do you write what your readers will like? I think Irvine Welsh has quite clearly decided to write what he likes, and it feels to me like he writes these really long-winded books. Some of the chapters aren't even needed, but it's entertaining for him, so it's okay. Might be a bit harsh, but after reading this one, that's the kind of feeling I get. He's got a new book out apparently, set in Brighton. I think it's like a Scottish detective travels down to Brighton or something. I don't think I'm going to bother with it. So if you're a hardcore Welsh fan, you might enjoy Filth. If you're not, my advice is give it a miss. Don't bother. Thanks very much for watching. I'll be back in a week or two with another book review. In the meantime, try to have a good day on this murderous, pointless, long-winded piece of rock we call Earth. Lots of literary love. Goodbye.